evening. Thank you for joining us. This is the news at 7 on NTA International. We're live here in Abuja. I'm Ruth Aguela. Let's start with the headlines. President Buhari meets Northeast Governors Forum over rising security challenges, signs instrument to boost African Trade Insurance Agency operations. Ahead of October governorship election in Ondo State, APC chieftains pledge support for re-election of Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu as politicians sue for national unity. And federal government inaugurates gas transportation network code to optimize gas availability. President Muhammadu Buhari has given strong assurances that the desired security and stability will be restored to the Northeast sub-region and other parts of the country bedeviled by acts of crime and criminality. Now, this followed the adoption of new strategies as well as the acquisition of state-of-the-art military hardware towards reinvigorating the fight against terrorists and other criminal elements undermining national security. This was at a crucial meeting with the Northeast Governors Forum held in the State House, from where Adamu Sambo reports.
The meeting by the Forum of Northeast Governors was a follow-up to the first one held in March this year in Gombe, hosted by Governor Inuwa Yahaya. Present at the Maiduguri meeting were governors of Adamawa, Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri, Bauchi Bala Mohammed, and Gombe Mohammed Inuwa Yahaya, while Taraba and Yobe were represented by their deputy governors. Chairman Borno State Governor Professor Wagana Umara had laid emphasis on security challenges facing the region, problems of unemployment, over-dependence on federal allocation, and how to move the region forward. The governors, in addition to discussing security and development issues, also received presentation from the Northeast Development Commission, Lafarge Ashaka, the NNPC, the Zone 15 Nigerian Police Force, and the Nigerian Army. Before the Maiduguri meeting, a technical committee comprising secretaries of government from the 6 states and the focal persons from the Northeast Development Commission had deliberated for 4 days to come up with an agenda. As part of the 11-point communique issued at the end of Maiduguri deliberations, Borno State Governor Professor Wagana Umara was nominated as chairman to lead for 2 years with Maiduguri as headquarters. The forum had urged the federal government to support the armed forces and the Nigerian police with modern military hardware and manpower to secure the zone and defeat the insurgents.
The forum pledged to work together to foster regional integration, growth and development, especially in exploitation of its oil and gas potentials, mineral resources, agriculture and industrialization. The forum called on the federal government to revoke selected roads contracts awarded by Federal Ministry of Works for years without progress and re-award them to more competent contractors and firms to ensure timely completion.
The next meeting comes up on the 7th November 2020 in Yola, Adamawa State. In Maiduguri, Muhammad Goni, NTA News.
We apologize for that mix-up there. That was a report by our Maiduguri Network Center, the Northeast Governors meeting with Governor of Zamfara State. But we'll definitely bring you the one with the President and meeting with the Northeast Governors in our subsequent bulletin. But let's look at other issues from the presidency. President Muhammadu Buhari has signed the instrument of ascension of the agreement for the establishment of the African Trade Insurance Agency. The agreement and the agency are registered with the Secretariat of the United Nations in accordance with Charter of the United Nations and is in cognizance of the fact that lack of adequate political, non-commercial and commercial risk insurance is a significant impediment to the availability of finance for investments in Africa and the expansion of African foreign trade and intra-Africa trade. The agency, when executed, will acknowledge previous multilateral efforts made by African states towards regional economy. And to electoral matters, ahead of October 10 governorship election in Ondo State, some chieftains of the All Progressives Congress have agreed to join forces towards the re-election of Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. This was the fallout of a peace meeting held in Akure, the Ondo State capital. Let's hear from Olubukola Aduwo.
The meeting tagged New Beginning, which had some governorship aspirants in the July 20 APC governorship primary election, and other aggrieved leaders of the party in attendance, was held behind closed door. At the end of the meeting, One of the aspirants, Isaac Kekemeke, explained the rationale behind the meeting, which he described as strategic for the success of the party and its candidates in the October 10 governorship election in the state.
We have come together as a strong, united party, ready to win again.
Governor Oluwarotimi Odunayo Akeredolu is fit for the job, is going again for the second time to fulfill all what he has started.
The incumbent governor, who is also seeking re-election, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, said the need to close ranks with all the aspirants, leaders and members of the party for them to speak with one voice is crucial towards the victory of the party in the election.
All presumed tendencies in APC have all come together to agree to work together.
Other leaders of the party, including the Senate Deputy Leader, Professor Ajayi Borofis, said the meeting has shown that every member of the party is ready to work for the re-election of Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. In Akure, Olubukola Aduwo, NTA News.
Well, entrenching peace and security of any nation is both the function of government and the citizens themselves. This position was the thrust of a conversation by a cross-section of Nigerian politicians who believe that government must be supported in its efforts towards securing the lives of the people. Timothy Yusuf will tell us more.
Nigeria first.
This assembly, comprising civil society organizations, political bodies and youth groups, seeks for the resurgence of conscience and ensuring justice prevails against incessant cases of violence in some parts of the country.
Our God, the Almighty God, designed Nigeria for greatness, to grow into a superpower among nations.
Affirmatively, we are saying that we have not given birth to robots. We have given birth to human beings that are teachable, that are changeable, developable, and transformable.
The youth groups is believed to have a critical role to play in ensuring a peaceful environment, especially in the area of advocacy and the need to refrain from being used as political thugs.
We have all it takes constitutionally and otherwise to address this situation.
Participants believe that building a new and progressive Nigeria is possible with high level of patriotism. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
The Court of Appeals sitting in Abuja has reinstated Advanced Congress of Democrats, Progressive People's Alliance and 20 other political parties deregistered by the Independent National Electoral Commission. In a unanimous decision, the court declared as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void the judgment of the Federal High Court upholding the Independent National Electoral Commission's action of deregistering the political parties. The four-man panel, led by Justice Shodipo Lokulo, held that the deregistration was illegal, having failed to follow due process. The court also held that INEC's actions were not in compliance with Section 225, subsection A of the 1999 Constitution as amended, as they did not indicate reasons for the deregistration of the political parties. INEC had claimed that the deregistration parties breached their requirements for registration as they failed to win at least 25% of votes cast in one state of the Federation during the presidential election. Let's go to the PTF briefing of today. Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says Nigeria is yet to reach the peak of the pandemic and declining cases should not be misinterpreted to mean the end of the pandemic. Chairman Boss Mustafa said the PTF is scaling up risk communication to curb community spread of COVID-19, adding that currently 5 states account for 60% of cumulative cases, while 689 out of the 774 local government areas have reported at least a case. The PTF said half of Nigeria's total COVID-19 cases are now concentrated in 20% of local government areas.
And sector stakeholders are admonished to ensure compliance with the various non-pharmaceutical measures already in place. The Presidential Task Force and the Federal Ministry of Aviation are working rapidly towards reopening of the international airspace to allow for international flights.
I also call on state, local government authorities, and healthcare workers to ensure the most rational and judicious use is made of all commodities provided. The National Council on Health also approved the establishment of the National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System, NEMSAS, an innovative system to pool the assets of public and private sector ambulances and hospitals to provide emergency medical care and patient transportation.
We encourage persons above the age of 60 and those with an underlying medical illness to continue to keep away from the general public and to preferably stay at home.
All right, let's look at education. Senior secondary schools in Ekiti State have reopened in preparation for the school certificate examinations, including WAEC. Kende Durodola reports that the governor, Kayode Fayemi, monitored schools across the state and directed compliance with the COVID-19 protocols in all schools.
After about 4 months of school closure due to the novel coronavirus pandemic, senior secondary school students in the exit class resumed in the state in preparations for their final year examinations. Visits to some schools in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital, showed compliance with COVID-19 guidelines as students were in high spirits to be back in the schools, while teachers said they are not leaving anything to chances to ensure the success of students in the examinations.
The school has placed facilities all around the school. They've also ensured that there is social distancing among students.
I think with this thing our teacher is going to teach us now, it's going to really help us combine with the online lessons.
We also made sure that all the teaching and the non-teaching staff use their face masks together with the students.
So most of the topics have already been covered. So for this week, we have to revise.
The state governor, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, had earlier inspected some schools across the state to ascertain level of preparedness in line with rules of COVID-19 for the resumption. The Chairman Council of Traditional Rulers, Obadebanji Alabi, emphasized the need for students, school authorities, and other key players to be circumspect in their conduct as the state eases the lockdown for the reopening of schools and worship centers in the state. In Ado-Ekiti, Kende Durodola, NTA News.
From education to ICT, the need to encourage women and girls to pursue careers in ICT for a more dynamic technology sector, create employment opportunities and ensure gender equity was the rationale behind African Scholars Care Initiative's desire to partner and train 100 girls in ICT for youth inclusion. Minister of State for Science and Technology, Mohammed Abdullahi, who inaugurated the project, emphasized the ministry's resolve to work with agencies to promote gender equality in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goal 5. Let's hear from Justin Bam-Onye.
One most significant challenge facing largely the developing countries, statistics reveal, is a rising youth unemployment rate. This informs the theme of this year's International Youth Day, Youth Engagement for Global Action. In response to these emerging issues, the African Scholars Care Initiative, in partnership with Digital Skills Foundation France, is to induct and train 100 girls in ICT in line with 2030 SDG Goal 5, which is geared towards gender equality and women and girls empowerment.
We intend to engage these girls on the following programs: computer appreciation, including cybersecurity, graphic designs, illustration, digital marketing, mobile banking, agency banking. Agency banking is what they empower the women with to make them self-reliant and sufficient after the training.
Everywhere you go, you find out that the guys are more ICT savvy. So we need to ensure that the girls compete favorably. I keep on saying anything girls do, they do it well and they even do it better.
Inaugurating the project, which will be a 6 weeks intensive training of the first batch, Minister of State for Science and Technology, Mohammed Abdullahi, viewed that the current situation has brought to fore the important role digital technology is playing to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on youths and social interaction across societies.
Today, there is a significant shortage of trained female ICT professionals, women accounting for less than 20% of ICT expertise in Africa. This gap needs to be closed by encouraging young girls and women to embrace education through advocacy and sensitization of teachers, parents, and society, and workshops and trainings like this.
Because I'm one person who feels like women should go forward.
Aside the training project, a sensitization centered on the need for a resilient youth in the era of COVID-19 and beyond will be conducted. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
A break is next for us. We're back shortly. Stay tuned.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Thanks for staying with us. Global coronavirus infections reaches 20 million as Australia reports records of coronavirus deaths on Monday. Uche Ugochukwu brings us more on the coronavirus pandemic around the world.
The World Health Organization says the coronavirus sweeping the world has shown no seasonal pattern and will research if health authorities relent in fighting it. Head of WHO's emergencies program, Dr. Mike Ryan, said Western Europe and elsewhere needs to react fast to new spikes. In the wave of resurgence in COVID-19 infections, Russian authorities confirmed 5,180 new cases, bringing the national tally to 892,654. Data from Indonesia's COVID-19 task force shows the country has 1,687 new infections and 42 new deaths. The number of confirmed cases in Germany increased by 436, according to data from the Robert Koch Institute for Infectious Diseases. Hong Kong reported 69 new cases, 67 of which were locally transmitted, as authorities fought to contain a resurgence of the virus over the last 6 weeks. Australia reported a record number of coronavirus deaths on Monday, although the number of new infections in the country's virus hotspot fell to a near 2-week low. The global infection tally shown on Worldometer coronavirus dashboard stands at 20,120,604, out of which 735,667 patients have died. Meanwhile, President Nicolas Maduro has announced the extension of Venezuela's state of alert for another 30 days to help contain the spread of the virus. And the Red Cross has trained some 43,000 North Korean volunteers to help communities in all 9 provinces fight the virus and provide flood assistance. The African continent, according to Johns Hopkins University, now has 1,053,567 confirmed cases of COVID-19 infections, and Nigeria accounts for 46,577, as reported by the country's Center for Disease Control, with 437 new cases recorded in 16 states and the FCT on Sunday. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Away from COVID-19, National Population Commission has launched the automation of birth registration and digitization of civil registration and vital statistics. Omenka Marachukwu reports that the launch commemorates the 2020 Africa Civil Registration and Vital Statistics.
In recent times, Nigeria has come under the reality of keeping poor demographic data for planning and development purposes. To address this setback, the National Population Commission is taking the bull by the horn in ensuring that proper birth and death records are kept. Challenged by 43% birth registration profile and 10% death records annually, the Commission is collaborating with relevant stakeholders to review strategies of ensuring a new regime of accurate data formulation with 2020 African civil registration at the front burner.
The only way that we can give an accurate figure for the population of Nigeria is when we conduct a census. All we can do in our circumstance is to carry out projections and give estimates. And by the projection that we have done, mid-year 2020, we are 206.3 million persons in Nigeria. And from our own projection, we are now growing at an average annual rate of 2.55%.
Today's commemoration is a large legacy of the vision of the first conference of African ministers responsible for civil registration held in Addis Ababa in 2010, which marked the beginning of coordinating.
We apologize for that poor signal there in the report. Let's look at other issues. Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Temipre Silva, has officially inaugurated the Nigerian Gas Transportation Network Code to optimize gas availability and delivery in the country, in line with federal government's promise to add value to gas and make it available to Nigerians. On NTA Fineface report.
With about 203 trillion cubic feet of gas in its reserve, Nigeria is considered a gas region with vast opportunities for export, added value and domestic utilization.
This administration is driving key policy and regulatory initiatives that will enhance gas reserves growth.
The Nigeria Gas Transportation Network Code provides a set of rules and principles for gas transportation. The aim is to promote gas to power, growth of gas-based industries and enhance revenue for government. It will also promote gas trading and deepen penetration of gas to users in Nigeria.
The aggregate impact of our three anchor program on gas, namely the Nigerian Gas Transportation Network Code, the National Gas Expansion Program, and the Nigerian Gas Flare Commercialization Program, will help us achieve the presidential mandate of gas penetration, gas-based industrialization, and economic diversification.
Minister of State Petroleum Resources unveiled the Network Code electronic licensing and administrative system for seamless use and migration to the Network Code for gas transportation. In Abuja, on NTA Fineface, NTA News.
In another development, efforts are ongoing to resolve the crisis between the Lagos State government and Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, which has resulted in the withdrawal of the services of petroleum tanker drivers in the state. Let's hear from Dotun Ogunyemi.
There have been a series of meetings between officials of NUPENG and the Lagos State government to resolve the issues centered around extortion and harassment by security agents, delays and bottlenecks in getting access to the ports, and the bad roads. The drivers who have withdrawn their services from midnight Monday were nowhere to be seen on their usual routes across the state, where about 75% of petroleum products are loaded.
The economy cannot be operating independent of human being. For the tanker driver that will go in there and pay this product, they too they are part of the economy. Not until all of them are died or become incapacitated before you think of what to do. The little action, the action they are putting on today is not because they want to hurt the economy, but they are to show their grievances to the government that things should not be done this way.
The union says it took the decision because of the failure of the Lagos State government to address the major issues causing the drivers pain. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
The family of Chief Samuel Ladoke Akintola, the former premier of defunct Western region of Nigeria, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for naming the Omiadio Ibadan Railway Station after their late dad. In a letter jointly signed by Chief Abayomi Akintola and Dr. Abimbola Akintola, the family said it appreciates the honor done to their father even after over 50 years of his death, describing it as a great honor to the family. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the family equally acknowledged what it called the many good works President Buhari is doing for the country. That's the news. Thank you very much for your time with us. Before we go, we have a message for you. I'm Ruth Aguela. Bye.